Okay, welcome everyone to our monthly luncheon. It is the State of the City's address, and I am so excited that you could join us today. My name is Kim Parmeter. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm the Executive Director of the Hermantown Area Chamber of Commerce, and it's so wonderful to see so many people in this virtual capacity. Of course, you know, we've had an interesting year. We had at last count about 25 different virtual programs since March of last year. So I've had the chance to see some of you, but not everybody. It's just not the same. And right now our board is planning on bringing back programming in person, hopefully in June. But we are going to just kind of, temper the waters and just see how see what that looks like come June. So this is truly our first luncheon in the capacity that you may know and remember it in since last year. So we're very excited to have you. I had some fun discussions early on with Mayor Boucher of Hermantown and said, hey, what if we invited our member mayors from Rice Lake, the city of Rice Lake, and also the city of Proctor, and have kind of a community conversation. And he loved it. And from there, the idea took off, and I'm super excited to not only welcome Mayor Boucher of Hermantown, but Mayor Werner of Rice Lake. And also Mayor Chad Ward is not able to attend today. He had a conflict, but they were generous enough to record a video message that I have queued up and ready to share with you today. So thank you so much. If you have other colleagues that are waiting to get in, I will be able to let them in just a quick moment. But I wanted to thank everybody who is here today, all of our members, some non-members, our participating member restaurants. For those of you that used our online registration system, we had the opportunity to support our local member restaurants, which included Grandma's, as well as Mackenzie's, and the Maya Family Restaurant, and of course, Valentini's. So we thank them for their support, and that is probably something that we'll continue to do. Again, as we're really trying to make sure that we've got to focus on our member restaurants as well as they go through such an unprecedented year in their business. I'd also like to thank our pillar sponsor. Now, a pillar sponsor is relatively new to the Hermantown Area Chamber of Commerce, and Bremer Bank stepped up to the plate this year as our pillar sponsor. They are kind of like an underwriter and helping us out throughout the year, so doing some above and beyond work to support the local Chamber of Commerce, your Hermantown Area Chamber of Commerce. So Jen, thank you for joining us from Bremer Bank. We've got a great program ahead of us for today. I would first like to introduce our sponsor, TKDA, and we have the Vice President of the Municipal Utility and Planning Division, which is perfect for today, Doug Fisher. And Doug, I am going to make you a co-host and let you begin with a little introduction. Okay, I'm going to ask you to unmute real quickly. And actually, Doug, allow me just a quick minute. As I shared with you, he's the Vice President of the Municipal Utility and Planning Division for TKDA, which is an employee-owned provider of engineering, architecture, and planning services based in St. Paul with offices in Duluth and others throughout the country. Prior to joining TKDA, Fisher spent 28 years in the public sector, including 17 years as county engineer for Anoka County. Doug's work in the public sector brings an in-depth understanding of clients' needs and pressures that accompany many projects and provides real-world networking solutions, navigating through complex legal, regulatory, financial, and political situations to accomplish project goals. He has served as president of the Minnesota section of the American Society of Civil Engineers, and he has served as president of the Minnesota County Engineers Association. Doug, I couldn't think of a better sponsor for this program. Your team they'll sign up for it the minute it's over for next year, and we just so appreciate TKDA's support. So if you would, I'd love for you to say a few words to our membership today.
Well, thank you, Kim, and thank you for this opportunity to sponsor today's program and share a little bit about TKDA. I do wish I had the ability to meet with you all in person instead of this virtual Brady Bunch style format, but it is what it is, and we're very happy to be here today. Speaking of virtual meetings, right now the Minnesota City Engineers Conference is going on again in a virtual format. And yesterday morning we had our keynote speaker, and he talked about the gift that 2020 was to all of us. And, while he's talking about this, I'm thinking personally, I am just glad 2020 is over. What is this gift all about? And, he went on to say that 2020 was a year that put many things into their proper perspective. And despite the many tragedies that COVID and civil unrest and other things brought upon us, and unfortunately, including to my own family, the year 2020 did remind us how resilient we can be in the face of adversity, how much better and stronger we will be when we come through this pandemic on the other side. So it really was a good speech. And, it made me think about TKDA, because TKDA, this year we are celebrating our 111th year as a company. The T of TKDA was Maximilian Toltz, and he was before he started TKDA, he was the chief engineer for James J. Hill, the railroad baron. So that's how old our company is. And I thought about all of the adversity that TKDA has seen through the course of our company's history. We were a 10-year-old company in the last pandemic, the Spanish flu. We've worked through 2 world wars, the Great Depression, more recently, the Great Recession, and obviously many, many other events over the course of our history. And despite all of these events, TKDA has not only survived, but thrived. And we are now a company with over 300 employees in 6 different offices throughout the country, including 30 employees at our Duluth office. And so I'm really proud to be a part of this company and be part of the continuing history. As Kim mentioned in her introduction to me, and thank you very much for that nice introduction. Usually I just say I was a smart kid from a slow class, and somehow made my career work for me. But anyways, a little bit about TKDA. We do provide architectural, engineering, and planning services through the collaboration of 6 divisions. We have architecture, aviation, facilities engineering, my division, which is the municipal utility and planning division. We have a rail division and surface transportation division, which does the big highway and bridge projects. So we are a full service firm of architects and engineers, and our engineers are civil engineers like myself. We have mechanical, electrical, controls, you name the type of engineering that's out there, and we have it. We are a full service firm. Some of our more recognizable projects in the Hermantown area include the AMSOIL Arena, which we were the architects for and did the facilities engineering on. We're also currently working on the Twin Ports interchange, hopefully to get rid of that can of worms that is so familiar to everybody up there. And you may be familiar with our projects in Hermantown itself, the City Hall, the new high school, the middle school conversion, the elementary school addition and renovation. And then more recently, this past summer, we were the engineer of record for the street improvements for Portland, Alexander, Carlson, Johnson, Hermantown Road. So we have a past and current relationship working in the city of Hermantown, and we hope to continue working in the city of Hermantown because just this week our architectural group again did submit a proposal to MnDOT for the consolidated campus master plan for the relocation of the MnDOT operations from their Pike Lake truck station to the new Hermantown MnDOT site. So we submitted a proposal for that. We'd love to continue to work in the Hermantown area on that. So I will just end it there. Thank you for this opportunity to give a little spiel on TKDA. We are aware that, you know, some of you may have a project in mind, not sure where to go. We'd love to have a conversation with you and talk about that, and do our best to recommend a process for making your project, whether big or small, a reality. Whether ultimately we're involved with it or not, we are here to help. And thank you again for this opportunity to talk about TKDA, and thank you for letting us serve you. Kim, I'll turn it back to you.
Wonderful, Doug. Thanks so much. Appreciate you being part of this program once again this year. Without further ado, I think we'll begin our program today, our State of the Now Cities, with Hermantown, Proctor, and Rice Lake, with Mayor Boucher from the city of Hermantown. So Mayor, I will share my screen and grab the presentation for you. And just let me know as you would like to advance the slides. Can everyone see the presentation on their screen?
Looking great.
Wonderful. All right, I'm ready when you are, and thanks so much for being here, Mayor Boucher.
Thanks, Kim. I'll let you know when to advance a slide. I started the State of the City address 11 years ago with a paper copy, and I quickly found out that a PowerPoint presentation was a whole lot better. It allows me to ad lib a little bit and fill in details, and I use the presentation as an outline. I'd like to thank the sponsors of today's show and the Hermantown Chamber, as well as Mayors Ward and Warner for their participation. Remember, we're all in this together over the hill. Kim, could you hit the first slide? 2020, we started out business as usual. There's some things we were continuing that were planned and kept going from previous years. We were continuing on our recreational initiative, which involves trails construction, ball field refurbishing and reconstruction, and an addition to the Hermantown Arena. We were all set, willing to go to the state. We met with Mary Murphy and Tom Bach about the possibility of sales tax use for this project. We were ready to go, and hopefully we were going to have this on the ballot for last November. Well, something happened in March that put the brakes on this, but we're still continuing this year. And we're also given a little extra time, because the soonest this can be on the ballot is a year from next November. It gives us time to work on things, refine them, and also look for other sources of funding. Next slide, please. We also started our road improvement project as part of our financial management plan. This is the plan that Mr. Fisher talked about. The first construction was Portland, Alexander, Johnson, Carlson, and Hermantown roads. This gave us the ability to do something we have not been able to do since we've become a city. That is, have a plan for the rebuilding and refurbishing of our local streets and roads. We have several roads in Hermantown that are considered highways. Hermantown Road to the Uggstead Road is one, Stebner Road, Arrowhead Road. But there are several roads where we just simply don't have any source of funding to take care of them. And these roads had deteriorated to such a poor condition. This is also the first time in the history of Hermantown that we've used an assessment process for homeowners on these roads. The City Council in 2019 and 20 decided to cap the assessment at $97.50 per parcel. But it still allows us to have some source of funding for a portion of the cost of the roadway. Next slide, please. We're continuing with our Section 24 sewer trunk line. This line is set to end at the intersection of Maple Grove and Haynes Road, but it does come through the woods behind the furniture store, behind the housing, and all the way from Engwalls down almost to the Keens Creek Park area. This is a $6 million project paid for completely with city sales tax. There is no Hermantown property tax or general fund involved in this. We figured from previous sewer trunk lines that for every dollar we invested in the trunk line, we got back $8 in development in new housing, new industrial development. So this development has the potential to add $48 million to the city of Hermantown as far as value and property. Next slide, please. Then March hit. Somebody put on the brakes. We were hit with a concept that none of us have ever seen in our lifetimes, and hopefully we don't see again. But initially there were several fears. By September, our ICU units were supposed to be filled beyond capacity. People would be dying left and right. Thankfully, we haven't seen that. But as you can see in front of you are some of the restrictions that were put in March by the state of Minnesota and Governor Walz. We've progressed from these. We opened up a little business afterwards and then had it closed down again. But I think we're on the downhill side of this thing, at least as far as the effect on social life and community life goes. Next slide, please. On the city end, we initially closed City Hall to the public to protect everyone, the public and our employees. It was closed for 58 days from March to June. We closed again in November because of a concern over someone who had had contact with City Hall who was positive for COVID. It was done as another precautionary measure. But we also lost our gathering place of the Essentia Wellness Center for a while. Employees were set up to work from home whenever possible. Schedules were altered in the police department. The police department went to a 10-day off, 5-day on schedule so that employees could isolate if they had the chance of exposure. We made some budget modifications because we were worried about our tax collections, both sales tax and property tax. Later on, we were able to roll these back. We also put on a hiring freeze. We altered some liquor license conditions on our level to allow the delivery and dispensing of containered alcohol out of bars and restaurants. We decided to do this before the state made their own concessions on that. There were several impacts, but they affected how we work because we wanted to keep people safe. In June, we received word that we would be getting some CARES funding. Below or on the screen is a distribution of our funding. We did not use all of our funding that was allocated. We could not find places to spend it all, so we turned that funding over to St. Louis County for their use for local small businesses. Next slide, please. This, the closures and the reaction to the COVID pandemic has hurt a lot of small local businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs that are used to working harder to keep their business going have been hurt by this, especially bars, restaurants, and the hospitality industry. These are people that put their life and their soul into their business so that they can succeed. They don't just work 8-hour days or even 10-hour days. Most of them are working 14 to 18-hour days and getting a little bit of sleep and starting all over again. They are used to operating in a world where they have to work extremely hard to succeed. And that was taken away from them. They weren't able to do anything to improve their lot socially, financially, or business-wise. It also had a tremendous impact on our youth sports. Everything was put on hold. The development of some of our student athletes has been set back probably at least a year or two. Hopefully we'll be able to resume that as the year progresses. Next slide, please. But we've got good news. As of January, youth sports has been opened up with restrictions. Our student athletes have to wear masks, but at least they can play their games. The Y at the Essentia Wellness Center is open again with social distancing. They're not as full as they were, but they are back open and people are able to get out and work on their fitness level and become more healthy. Vaccine is becoming more available. I just saw an article yesterday where the Biden administration wants vaccine available to everyone by this summer. Now, we're not out of the woods, but we found a way to try and make things work. We're moving on and we're doing the best with what's in front of us. you know, this thing that happened is beyond our control. So it's a little hard for us to accept, a little hard for some people to deal with. But I believe that it has slowed the spread of the disease. Next slide. Now, the city initially prepared for loss of property tax and sales tax. We stopped spending money on new equipment purchases. We froze hiring. But as we progressed in the year, we found that our property tax collections weren't out of line with a normal year. We also didn't experience any drop in our sales tax revenue. In fact, August showed a $434,000 sales tax collection. That's the highest month in the history of Hermantown. As the year went on, we resumed hiring and equipment purchases were reinstated because we saw that we could afford them. Next slide, please. Through the year, though, we did experience some times of some citizen involvement in government. We had some developments where citizens came forward and questioned the density of the property, especially in planned unit developments in the R3s. We found through study that our planned unit development exceptions were the most liberal of any city we could find. So even though there were restrictions to individual lot development in R3 zones, you could do almost anything with a planned unit development if it was accepted. Because of that, we instituted a 6-month moratorium on certain types of high density buildings. You could still apply and build duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes of a certain density, but the larger buildings are placed under a moratorium. This will allow us time to study what is acceptable in our community and what is proper. We are performing a stakeholder survey, and we have hired the Arrowhead Regional Development Commission to study this. Hopefully we'll be able to open up these developments before the 6-month window in time for next year's construction season. Next slide, please. We also had a lot of concern in August and September over high utility bills. Water and sewer bills were unusually high from May through October. The format of our city billing was very basic and was hard for people to understand. And the timing caused some confusion. Your water usage for May wouldn't be on your bill or wouldn't be received by you until the first week in July. So it's hard to look back 5 or 6 weeks and see and memorize what water use used. Since then, we've taken steps to change things. We've changed our billing. We've made it more specific. We've also have an online portal where customers can access their billing information. They can see how much they've used. But part of the problem during this time was people used more water. The months of May through October were some of the driest in recent history. The city went through more water. We bought more water from the city of Duluth than any other year. We purchased 161,000 or 161 million gallons, which is an all-time high for us. People didn't realize that when they were home, they used more water. And with the dryness, there was a lot of water that was used for watering lawns and gardens. This was compounded by the fact that sewer rates are based on water usage. There is no way to measure the use of sewage and gallonage, so we have to use the water usage with the thought that all of the water used ends up going back down the sewer. This doubled the high usage for some people. Also, the people that used the most water, a lot of their water usage was in the highest tier of our 3-tiered billing system. We have a 3-tiered system to encourage water conservation. The first break is our lowest tier, which is what we felt an average home would use, and it's around 4,000 to 4,500 gallons a month. The next 2 tiers go up from that. Next slide, please. Kim? Oh, There we go. I'm sure you're all aware that we had an election last year. It was our largest turnout ever, and our city staff did a great job in handling it. We could have probably hired 2 or 3 full-time people to handle all the walk-in traffic during the early voter turnout. We had a 94.4% turnout of registered voters. Absentee and early voting was 61.4%, which was unheard of. Everybody was doing this to keep themselves safe. And kudos to our staff for keeping up with it. Next slide, please. Through all this, Hermantown is continuing to grow. Our property values of the city of Hermantown as of last year are almost $1.2 billion. You can see the graph that shows the growth in commercial, industrial, and residential over the last 10 years. This will continue. There's more inquiries as to properties in Hermantown, more businesses and homes want to locate here. Next slide, please. Now, on the horizon for us for the next year to 2 years, we hope to keep our efforts up to secure sources of funding from the legislature. LGA, which we haven't had in a few years, that all other cities get. Approval of sales tax for the recreational initiative, but we also want to look at construction bonding and other sources of revenue. The reason we are going to the legislature for this is we've discussed we pay a tremendous amount to St. Paul and the state of Minnesota every year in property taxes, income taxes, sales taxes, and motor vehicle taxes. We're looking to get some of that back so that we can keep up with the development and service the people that have moved into Hermantown. We also want to look at our comprehensive plan over the next 2 years. It was last revised in 1999 and approved in 2000. Some of the language and the concepts in it are out of date. Some of it are, I actually cringe a little bit when I read some of the language in it about how we need to try and keep group homes out of our community. We're also looking at efforts to increase development. Through our comprehensive plan and other planning efforts, do we need to change zoning uses? Do we need to add 1 or 2 residential zones? Do we need to add new business zones? We also want to take some efforts to facilitate broadband expansion. Now, I don't believe the city should be a utility provider in this way, but there are several companies that are available and providing service in Hermantown. What's needed is facilitation and expansion of these existing opportunities. There are several miles of fiber optic in Hermantown that are unknown, that are not being used or not serving the areas that they run in front of. There's also proposals on the federal end. There's a stimulus package right now proposed for $7 billion for rural broadband. There's also proposals on the federal level for building the last mile, and that would be finding some way of radio transmission for the last mile of service from fiber optic lines. There's also a broadband initiative that's proposed in the state of Minnesota over the next 2 years. We hope to try and facilitate and capitalize on any opportunities to increase that because number one, it will improve our quality of life in Hermantown. Number two, it will allow our students that have been stuck home studying to try and work from home. And it will help growth of business and residents in Hermantown. This is a personal one for me. I would like to see us restart Advance Hermantown. This was done 10 years ago to identify our community's destiny drivers and plan a way to implement them and succeed. The concept is that if we do not plan our future, it will happen anyway. And it may be a future we don't exactly like. So we need as a community to step up and plan what we want the next 10 years to look like. Next slide, please.
Give me a second here. It's wanting to lock up.
It's locked up. There.
I'm not asleep at the wheel, I promise you, but I think we're on our last slide here, Mayor.
We're on our last slide for all of you. The communities outside of Duluth have accepted the recent adversity very well. The same opportunities for growth in the rural Duluth area exist as before the pandemic. They're significant. A lot of people want to locate outside of Duluth. Hermantown, Rice Lake, and Proctor are all positioned well to capitalize on the next phase of growth in the area. We need to work together to get moving. We have a lot to look forward to. And my last little bit of philosophy is don't look back. You're not going that way. Thank you, Kim. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Mayor Boucher from Hermantown. I appreciate you once again. Supporting the chamber. The city has been fantastic to work with, and your entire team up there in City Council. We appreciate your support. So thank you very much for that. We are recording this presentation, and we do have a YouTube channel, so we will be uploading it to that later. You should be able to access it by next week if there's other folks that you would like to see this program. Let's see, we're going to switch gears here now and hear from Mayor Chad Ward of Proctor. This is a little different. He was unable to attend today, so he was kind enough, along with his city administrator, Jessica Rich, record a little video for us. So without further ado, we'll begin that. You should be able to all hear this.
Good afternoon. My name is Chad Ward, and I'm the mayor for the city of Proctor. I'd like to thank Hermantown Area Chamber of Commerce Executive Director Kimberly Parmeter for the invitation to address your organization this afternoon. And I'm honored to join the panel with Mayor Boucher and Mayor Warner. December 31st, 2020 marked the end of my first term as Proctor's mayor. January 1st, 2021 marked the first day of my second term. I feel honored to have been elected again, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work for the citizens of Proctor. There are so many things that I could share with you this afternoon that are very specific to the city of Proctor, such as COVID response, emergency response, staffing, policy changes, and so much more. But considering the audience, I would like to share two items that perhaps have more of an effect on our communities as a region. First, I'm extremely excited to introduce a new face to the city of Proctor, our new city administrator. And secondly, I'll be sharing with you Proctor's new transportation plan. I have with me this afternoon Proctor's City Administrator Jess Rich. Administrator Rich joined the City of Proctor's team in August of 2020. After months of searching and interviewing for the position, the City Council unanimously approved to hire Ms. Rich to fill this very important role. Administrator Rich brings a lot of knowledge and experience to Proctor. She has already shown her strong leadership skills and has hit the ground running with new ideas and visions for the City of Proctor. With this new hire, I'm very excited for the future of Proctor. Administrator Rich, would you like to tell us more about yourself?
Thank you, Mayor. I would love to have been at this event to meet you all face to face. However, we know this is not the case. So thank you, Mayor, for bringing me along this afternoon. I too am excited about the future of Proctor. In the short time that I've been here, I've been continually impressed by the Mayor Ward's and the Proctor City Council's level of commitment to the community, leadership, and professionalism. As their administrator, it's my job and it's my goal to support them in their decision-making so they can continue that level of leadership and commitment and professionalism in our community. I bring with me 23 years of experience and knowledge of Minnesota city, county, state government. I'm also a business owner. I appreciate and understand the important role councils, mayors, city administrators play in businesses like yours and community organizations like yours. And I look forward to learning more about your businesses, your organizations, and your communities.
Thank you, Administrator Rich. The second item I wanted to share with you this afternoon is Proctor's new transportation plan. This plan has been in the works for some time now and shows some exciting possibilities for not only the city of Proctor, but also regional possibilities. Just like your communities, Proctor serves as a place where families look to settle in, send their kids to school, and engage in the community. Roads, trails, sidewalks, and infrastructure matter when choosing a community to live in. This is what we envision for the city of Proctor.
Just a moment here as they get their video rolling.
The Proctor Transportation Plan defines Proctor's transportation vision for the next decade, focusing on creating a street network that is safe and easy to use for people of all ages and abilities, creating a strong future for Proctor and its surrounding neighborhoods. The plan was funded by the Duluth Superior Metropolitan Interstate Council and was developed over the summer and fall of 2020. A vision statement and planned goals were established based on past plans, existing conditions on the ground, and discussions with community leaders. A recommended list of projects was created for Proctor and surrounding areas to focus on over the next 10 years. The project was guided by a steering committee representing Proctor's residents, city administration and elected officials, and representatives from the Minnesota Department of Transportation, St. Louis County, City of Duluth, and Duluth Transit Authority. Proctor's vision statement is, Proctor's transportation system is a multimodal network connecting people with places, providing safe, healthy, and accessible transportation choices for everyone, and promoting a sustainable and competitive economy. To carry out the vision statement, steering committee members formed 5 guiding goals to carry out this vision. These goals were used to evaluate and rank future projects and programs. The Highway 2 Streetscapes Improvements Project ranked highly, as did trails in Central Proctor improvements for walking along Boundary Avenue and projects that help children walk and bicycle to school. Recognizing the importance of Highway 2 and 2nd Street, high-level designs for Highway 2 and 2nd Street were created to provide direction for those 2 corridors. MnDOT will be repaving Highway 2 in the next 10 years. This is an opportunity to consider improvements for downtown Proctor. The City of Proctor will work with MnDOT to consider possible changes. The conceptual designs in this plan address known issues: medians to calm traffic and lower traffic speeds, and buffer spaces to include seating and trees will create more comfortable and inviting environment for pedestrians, which will benefit the businesses along the corridor. These recommendations start to address Proctor's needs for Highway 2. 2nd Street was identified early in planning discussions as a key corridor linking the heart of Proctor. It connects the most populated neighborhoods to many important places: the middle and high school, the Proctor Community Center and recreational facilities, downtown Proctor, and Klang Park. As opportunities arise to rethink 2nd Street, it has the potential to be a gem for the city. Conceptual designs here looked at options for providing bicycle and pedestrian connections, curb extensions to slow traffic at some intersections, sidewalk improvements, and a link to the east side of Orchard Street to connect Bayview Elementary School to the corridor. Any future plans for 2nd Street must be agreed by both Proctor and St. Louis County. Proctor has a plan that it can consider over the next 10 years to help achieve a new transportation vision for people of all ages and abilities. The city can tackle some projects on its own. Others will require a strong partnership and creative funding strategies. The city may want to take advantage of new opportunities or address challenges as they emerge. The vision, goals, and strategies outlined in the plan will continue to help measure how well future efforts meet the city's needs. Over the next decade, Proctor will have opportunities to rethink its streets. These spaces play a complex role and are the lifeblood of communities. They can provide a safe and comfortable way to move around, but they can also foster business activity, reduce environmental impact, increase safety for all users, and create vibrant public spaces for the community. Partnerships with MnDOT, St. Louis County, and the City of Duluth can bring about strong connections to a larger regional system. It will take dedication to accomplish all of these projects. When complete, they'll be a part of a multimodal transportation future for Proctor that is more safe, healthy, and accessible for everyone.
We all know the reality of and challenges of bringing a plan like this together. Some parts are a little easier to obtain, but at least we now have a plan in place and future goals to achieve. I am confident the City of Proctor City Council and staff will work towards these goals. As Henry Ford famously said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Thank you again for inviting the City of Proctor to this event, and we look forward to being good partners with your communities now and in the future.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, Mayor Ward and Proctor City Administrator Jess Rich. I don't think you would have necessarily known that was a video unless I hadn't told you in advance in this virtual world we're navigating through. So our next speaker is the mayor of the city of Rice Lake, our newest city in the mix. And I'm very excited to introduce Mayor John Werner to the stage here. So Mayor Werner, let's get you set up. I have a PowerPoint that, or actually, Tony, will you be sharing that?
Yes, I will.
Okay, wonderful. You should have co-host abilities. And if you, are you able to share your screen? If not, I'm happy to step in. It was kind of fun listening to Mayor Werner and Mayor Boucher chatting here earlier today. It's good to get these gentlemen together every now and then. So.
Do you have it yet?
I think we do. It looks pretty good. So if you want to just push from beginning, I think that we are ready to roll.
Okay, well, thank you again, and a heartfelt thank you to the invitation that we received to participate in this. Each of us, these cities, bring different things to the mix, and likewise the challenges that more developed communities have versus what Rice Lake have are impressively different. But again, my name is John Werner. I'm the mayor of Rice Lake, lifelong resident of the township prior, served on the township board of supervisors, and then was elected mayor. And again, this past fall was re-elected mayor. With that said, we have Attorney Tony Lundahl with us. She's our clerk treasurer, which most of the communities in Minnesota have. And she's done a yeoman's job as far as bringing functionality and personality in reference to the citizens of Rice Lake. So we have a staff up here at City Hall. That's 3 full-time people and one part-time. And then likewise in our Public Works, we have 3 full-time people. And the rest of this, the staff, we bring on seasonal workers in the summertime to do mowing and stuff like that. And then also we bring on a grader operator, and he takes care of shaping the roads and all that through the summer months. But in the wintertime, we ratchet back and do what we have. So with that, we'll move on to the next slide, please. And Rice Lake is short. It's 2 sections down in the southeast, and that's the woodland area. And then the portion in the southwest, which the airport has. And again, we work well with all of our neighbors. We haven't this year because of COVID, but we host the area township association meetings here at Rice Lake, and we have for 30 years. And those are well attended by the neighboring townships, and it gives each township and ourselves an opportunity to talk about our specific issues and then also the impacts that may have on others. With that, I would like to talk about a couple things. The last few years, and 3 to 4, we've seen amazing growth in new houses, remodels. In some months, over $1 million has been added to the tax base, again, which was unprecedented. And again, we had the same things happening this year, even with COVID. It was amazing the amount of construction, residential construction, garages, homes, new homes, and then remodels that was happening. The other thing that we were not allowed to do last year because of COVID was the 150th anniversary of Rice Lake. And again, Rice Lake had its first township meeting in October of 1870. And with that, we've grown. And back then we were 5 townships large: Kenosha, Friedenberg, and 2 sections of Grand Lake. And then in the 1888, I believe Kenosha split from Rice Lake, and then the other townships split from them. We're very proud of that 150 years. I know the state allowed us to rename ourselves if we wanted to. When we incorporated as a city in October of 15, but it was a resounding response that we would maintain Rice Lake identity because that's what we all knew. We grew up here and our ancestors grew up here also. We're a bedroom community. We're very close to the colleges, and most of our population concentration is below the West Tisher, which is an east-west road above the Martin. And that's where the older community was. And again, there's been a considerable amount of development, the new areas being opened up. But we are a bedroom community. We have some businesses, and they continue to prosper and are very well received in the community. We have no sales tax. It's a philosophy that Rice Lake has that we pay a lot of taxes, so there's no need to have a sales tax. With that, we have been very successful in managing our finances, and I'll explain those later as we get into some of our projects that we've undertaken. We save, we set aside money for building maintenance for the various departments. And again, when it comes to the dollar, and maybe this is part of that township mentality, but very frugal with what we have. Our growth is impressive. We are waiting to see what the census will bring us as far as numbers. But because we're a city under 4,200, we don't get that road assistance from the state, and that hinders our ability, but we still have been doing an awful lot of improvements on our roads. The Volunteer Fire Department claims the title in the state of Minnesota as the first rural volunteer fire department formed in 1948. And that's a banner that they carry proudly. And just as a side note, and when we get to the fire department slide, all of the equipment that, we're talking rolling stock, that the fire department has had since its formation has been funded through the fire department relief, the local pull tabs, all the other different funding mechanisms, fundraisers, and not a tax dollar was spent on rolling stock. There's still enough money in the fund that they set up years ago, and they're in the process of looking at retiring one of their older tankers, and so that should deplete that, and then that fire department rolling stock would roll on to the taxpayer. But the residents of the city have been very, very supportive, and we have an outstanding fire department that's dedicated. And because of our locale, and I don't doubt that it's any different than any of the other rural fire departments, but we end up being a training ground for the city of Duluth. And there have been notable people in the fire department in Duluth that have risen to the higher leadership of that department and retired from there. Again, we mentioned the COVID, and it impacted our ability to have our 150th anniversary birthday party in August at the town park, which has always been a big success. And so we've had to delay that. We still try and do something in August if conditions with pandemic dissipate. We worked hard on publishing a new first ever Rice Lake history book commemorating 150 years. It has been a challenge trying to gather pictures and personal homestead stories. And then the 1918 fire with the extensive damage and deaths that Rice Lake experienced. in the lower half of the township at that time. And so with that, let's go to the next slide. She's bringing it up, but we have a modern buildings. Now, about 10 years ago, we started putting money back into our buildings, fire hall, public works, and the older portion of the city hall, because the building was showing its age. All of them were. We're very proud of being able to do all that with money that we've been setting aside for these type of projects. The front of City Hall now is a new addition that we're still in the process of doing punch list items interior. The sign out front will be finished in the spring, along with the landscaping. We appropriated savings and we put in a new 300-foot drilled well to improve the water. It is a beautiful facility inside, and we were able to consolidate all of the staff into one working area. And again, the front entrance opens up into a large hall with the service counter that's manned the entire time that the city is open. And then some storage was added. We doubled the size of our kitchen, which is a great plus for those that will use the hall in the off hours on weekends and stuff for gatherings. And so we're very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. That addition is a little over 900,000, 910, I believe, and it did not go on the tax rolls. It's being paid for through state aid, and I know that we're fortunate to get that, and that's what we've done with some of our other stuff. But City Hall is a great thing, and security is we never had security in the other building, but this is a great addition. Public Works is the addition that you saw. Excuse me, if you take it back. And that wing that's off to the right of the picture, we added that last year, and that was a $600,000 acquisition. We moved our utility department into that because the growth. We have one employee that mans that, but our utilities are expanding always, and I'll get to those as we progress through the slides. But and then our dirt section, roads, is over in the other building where all of our equipment is. And so hopefully we don't have to do anything for that for a few years, but if growth happens, it happens, and we'll see what we have to do. We've acquired land to our west from the church on the corner, and so there is space to grow there. Move on. The Public Works Department itself, that truck that you're seeing up there is the same model that we worked with the county and their acquisition. So I spent a lot of time in their trucks, seeing what the good, the bad. That truck is slated. We signed the contract the first week of January of 20 for that. And because of COVID and supply problems and all the other things that the dealers have suffered through, we aren't slated to receive that truck until 1st of April. It's been a challenge working with the dealers and the suppliers, but we're all in this boat together. We have just purchased a 2019 loader. I had less than 1,000 hours on it, and that was a cooperative agreement with the local cat dealer and Fond du Lac. And we have looked at other things that Fond du Lac has, and we've copied some things in our utilities and that reference. So again, that's another one of those cooperative issues that we try to maintain. And the new grader, we had a 20-year-old cat grader, and we were able to do a purchase under the contract for the city of Duluth. and it's open to anybody that wanted to, but it had to go through the City Council of Duluth and allow us to slide in under their leasing agreement. And then we paid that off because we saved money for that day. And and then we sold ours. So it really came a zero-sum game in reference having to have a financing plan for all of these equipment purchases. That truck on top, I might add, is all government aid, and very fortunate in that. Next slide. Our fire department, our number one hall is down on Martin Road next to Public Works, and that was built in 1993. We're down on membership, and record calls are up. And the record calls, aside from mutual aid, and we belong to both the state and their Arrowhead Mutual Aid. And a year and a half ago, we even sent a truck and crew out to that big blaze west of the Twin Cities. And we're also, as along with all the other rural departments, very in sync with what the DNR has. And that we've been watching our blowdown area, and we've tried to have the residents encourage them to contact the area loggers and stuff like that. And that's kind of slowed down. So we are watching the rest of that blowdown area. We don't have any big issues with that. I did want to mention the piece on the fire department, because of that would be where we were going to do some additional work. And our 5-year plan, we operate off of a 5-year plan, and that 5-year plan has in it right now all of the stuff we have done, and it's some things we are planning on doing. And one of them is, after we finish up with the debt that we have, is to go ahead and have the addition. We want to put on two additional bays, larger bays for larger apparatus that would become necessary in the future. And then off the backside, there would be a large community center. So those are two projects that are in the mix, and hopefully within 3 years. State bonding requests. Last year we were successful in getting, we had asked for $2 million, we got $1 million, and we're working on extending the pipes north of Martin Road. And so we're doing the engineering right now on that. And then we had leftover funds for our project that was 4 years ago, was appropriated, and we had numerous different funding sources for that. And we, for the Colstead, Colstead, East Calvary, Chicago Avenue, and Austin Street. All of that piping was replaced. And in all of these projects with infrastructure, we do not charge the residents. Everything was done once we put a package together. And same thing with some of the road projects. We don't charge, they pay enough in taxes, and we've been successful in moving the whole process and improvements to our roads forward. And that there was funds left over from that project down in the southeast corner. And so we're gone to the legislature. Senator Bach has been outstanding in his support, and that money will be reappropriated so that we can go across Martin to the Harvard East and close the loops. We have an awful lot of dead end lines, and that's hampered. So we're trying to close that. Over on the Martin Road going east from Rice Lake Road, we're working on pipes there, and then pipes north on Stavanger to Martin. There is a assisted living that's being built in there this year, and those pipes are all being extended by developers. Next slide. Cooperative agreements. We work well with the city of Duluth. Austin Street is a classic example because we own half of it, but all the waters from Duluth, because they're on the upper, we're flowing into the lower, where all of our residents were experiencing water problems. So worked very well with Jim Benning, city engineer, and came to a cooperative. We took care of the construction, and they paid for their half of that street, and it turned out very, very well. St. Louis County has been fantastic with being able to cooperate with them, gravel contracts, and likewise on roads. We've swapped roads in the wintertime, take care of some of theirs, they take care of some of ours. And the state of Minnesota, again, because we're a city of 5,000, any of those monies that come from the state transportation fund have to be administered by the local MnDOT, and been very, very helpful in that regard. And again, I've explained what we do with Fond du Lac. Again, very cooperative with all of these. Just a couple things, and there are some things that people don't realize. One of them is that Quick Trip store on the corner of Martin and Rice Lake Road has had phenomenal success. It is the largest revenue generator for Quick Trip in all of the stores in the Duluth Superior area. That's impressive for that little place. And likewise, we're working with the county highway department to try and improve the flow through that intersection, let alone south from Martin Road to the city limits at the Ridgeview Road, because we have those three intersections are the highest traffic counts for accidents. And so we've been working with them, and that's a long-term project, but it's all county road. But that intersection, and I grew up just off of the Rice Lake Road on West Calvary, and nearest neighbor was almost a third of a mile away. But if somebody would have told me that Rice Lake would have traffic problems, I would have told them they were crazy. But since Quick Trip and the development in Gnesen and Friedenberg and Kenosha and all of that, we have a traffic problem. And sometimes traffic is backed up all the way to the West Calvary going south from the intersection. And it's amazing that there's that much growth in the surrounding townships and also in Rice Lake. We do have some challenges, and I make no bones about it. Our biggest challenge is internet. We've done some surveys working with engineers. The latest count, and this was a 2-year-old number, was $13 million to run fiber optic. It's a price tag that we can't get there. So we do little pieces. We always have the issue about what about us? And I keep bringing up the issue of $13 million, and that was 2 years ago. It's a challenge, and hopefully we'll get some assistance from the state, and we're working on that aspect of it. But it's been a real challenge for the school kids in the more rural parts because internet is spotty at best. And even at times for these development showings and Zoom and stuff, we will drop off the net here at City Hall. So we're working with Charter to try and do something there, plus all of the others. We have 2 school districts that service our area. From Rice Lake Road east is all City of Duluth, 709, and then Rice Lake West is all of Hermantown. And when I grew up out here, the county owned the schools. And then in the 70s, the county got out of the school business here, and then the City of Duluth took over. I know that I've ran long on my thing, but one of the things that we've done very successful is that we're changing over our water meter system from the manual water and then having to go down the roads and get your data. We've changed it over to a Medtron cellular. And so that the homeowner knows what is, if he'd like, he can access, he can see what his usages are. And city utilities clerk also does the same thing up here. And the lots are checked. And if there is a complaint, this system tells you when you get up out of bed, when you turn on faucets, and it monitors the whole thing. And that's very impressive, especially with all the complaints that sometimes you get, well, I didn't use that water. And the bad part about it, Rice Lake has to pay for the water. And there's also that sewage side of it. But we didn't have the same, a lot of our wells have been maintained by the residences so that they're only hooked to the outside faucets for their gardening and all the other stuff as far as washing. So it's worked out well, but you still have those complaints. And we work as best we can with those. And I believe that is the end. And again, my sincere thanks to the Chamber for hosting us. it is gratifying to know that we're all one, because we are one. We're the rural suburb of Duluth. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mayor Werner. I really appreciate you participating in this as well today. And we are at time, so if you do need to step off, you're more than welcome to do so. I have a few notes to wrap up with. And if our mayors and or our city administrators that are still on today's program would like to hang around for some Q&A, if there's any, you're more than welcome to submit those via the chat feature at the bottom. Go ahead and do that. But just a couple of quick notes. I really want to thank you so much again for your support today, as well as our folks from TKDA, who, like I said, always love to sponsor our annual State of the City address, which is now the State of the City's address this year. Again, thanks to Bremer Bank as our 2021 pillar sponsor. They've stepped up this year as a member to really support all of our programming for this year. And so we're very, very grateful and appreciative of their support as well. Thank you to Mayor Werner from Rice Lake, Mayor Boucher from the city of Hermantown, and Mayor Ward from the city of Proctor. I hope that you've learned a lot today. I hope that you've learned about living and working and playing and praying, starting or moving your business to one of these great communities. And just as Mayor Werner said, you know, we're in this together. We're in this unique space right outside of a major market, at least for Minnesota. And so there's a lot that we can do together as citizens in these communities. And I'm just so pleased that we could bring this together. Many hundreds of years of tradition, Proctor being probably our oldest city, well over 100 years. Hermantown is been around for just over 40, I think, Mayor Boucher. And of course, Rice Lake is kind of our new kid on the block with 5 years. But as you've heard, they're all so deeply rooted in our community. So lots of great tradition and history there. And that shaped this region to what it is today. So I just want to thank you again for sharing this day with us and enjoying this conversation with our community mayors. With that, the program has come to an official end, but I would be more than happy to entertain some Q&A if anybody has anything they'd like to address with our mayors. And I think we'll call that a wrap. Stay tuned. We'll post more information on our website, in our weekly updates, and on our Facebook page for some different chamber programming coming your way very soon. Have a great day, everybody. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Kim.